If we are to gain appreciation for the present and perspective for the future, then we must first look to the past and to the virtues of those who have gone before us. Their examples become a compelling motivation for us all, for everyone is a pioneer in his own life. In our modern world filled with abundance and technology, it's good to have our minds refocused on the struggles of early church members to remind us of the importance of faith in God if there is to be lasting achievement. During the year 1850, missionaries in Paris spent much of their time translating the Book of Mormon into French. That summer, John Taylor and Curtis Bolton stopped at the office of the newspaper Le Populaire. There they met a charismatic and idealistic editor by the name of Louis Bertrand. Of that initial meeting, Louis later reported,
"I was struck by the far-reaching importance of the work they were missioned to introduce to France."
After being baptized by Elder Taylor on December 1st, 1850, in the frigid Seine River, Louis became a fierce advocate for the church in France, which soon led to his dismissal at the newspaper. Undaunted, he commenced helping the missionaries to translate the Book of Mormon into his native French.
Over the years, the local persecution grew so much that I fled to the island of Jersey. There, I introduced the church to another exiled Frenchman, Victor Hugo.
When it became impossible to continue preaching the gospel in France, Louis made the painful decision to leave his beloved country forever. Though he never returned to France, Louis' efforts to translate the Book of Mormon laid the foundation for the church to grow in subsequent generations. He boldly declared to the prophet Brigham Young,
"Mormonism is now everything in the world to me."
In 1939, in response to the immediate threat of World War II, church leaders evacuated all missionaries serving in the French mission.
I was the only Melchizedek priestholder left in my country.
Whether on foot or bicycle, whether in occupied France in the north or in the Free Zone in the south, Brother Fargier almost single-handedly conducted the spiritual affairs of the church during the war. With the authorization of the brethren, and despite the constant risk to his own life, Leon blessed, baptized, confirmed, conferred priesthood, and held regular meetings to sustain his fellow church members. From February 1944 until the French liberation, Leon even harbored a Jewish family in his home, saving them from a concentration camp and likely death.
Though I was often arrested by the Gestapo and ordered by officials to seize my activities, I refused to forsake my priesthood duty.
He boldly declared,
"We do not have a temple in Europe, but Zion is everywhere God can dwell. Everywhere there is a member of the church."
Like Leon Fargier, Eveline Kleinert let her faith in Christ shine brightly during the darkest days of the Second World War. Despite there being no priesthood holders in the small Paris congregation, Eveline made sure that worship meetings were held as often as possible.
Although we were just a small group of sisters, we prepared food and provided care for the sick and the needy around us.
When it became impossible during the height of the war for members to come together on the Sabbath, Eveline personally maintained contact with each sister through weekly letters.
I would send a letter of comfort to each of my sisters. Thus our bond of love, peace and prayers was never disrupted between us.
In February 1944, when members in Paris were disheartened by sickness and affliction, Eveline was able to arrange for Leon Fargier to make the 500-kilometer journey to minister to them.
Although food rations were scarce, I decided to bake enough bread for my sisters to partake of the sacrament, something they had not been able to do in 4 years.
Eveline exemplified the Relief Society motto by proving that charity never faileth. The Book of Mormon changed Roger Vincent's life forever. Upon receiving a copy from his brother in 1962, Roger stayed up all night to read it cover to cover.
By the next morning, I knew that the sacred record was true and that Joseph Smith was a prophet of God.
He and his wife Nicole were soon baptized in the local swimming pool in Nancy. Shortly thereafter, the mayor forbid the use of the swimming pool for religious purposes.
We constructed a makeshift font in our basement and there performed over 60 baptisms.
Despite growing opposition from religious and civic leaders, the Vincents worked with other members to build the first chapel in their community and to help many converts come to a knowledge of the gospel.
Yes, we helped build a chapel here in our community, but more importantly, we have built a family sealed for time and all eternity in the house of God.
Today there are 4 generations of the Vincent family who have been blessed by the gospel, and it all started with Roger reading the Book of Mormon.
In looking back on our lives, we have given much for the church, but we have received so much more.
These 4 accounts are representative of the stories of thousands of faithful French members who remain true to their testimonies of the restored church. Today, there are nearly 40,000 church members throughout France engaged in the Lord's work by serving their fellow men. Theirs is an expression of faith and charity that through their good works, Jesus Christ will bring to pass His eternal purposes in this beautiful land. And their sacrifices now lay the foundation for the temple of God to serve all of His children in France.